Oh, hey, welcome to the show. Ooh, let's play a game real quick. I am thinking of a vehicle, an American vehicle, an American sports car to be specific. No, it's not the Mustang. We spoke about that over 3 months ago. Huh, been a while. This is not a vehicle for us youngins. This is for those who are old with retirement money and golf clubs and belated angel. Give up yet? I'll give you one more hint. It uses a large displacement engine, but it's actually considered a small block. If you haven't guessed yet, I am talking about this over here. Come this way. This right here. This is my little red Corvette. Specifically the C7 Corvette, the last front-engine mounted Corvette of our generation. Every Corvette moving forward will be mid-engine, or maybe they'll switch over to electric, or maybe even hydrogen. But this sort of innovation should not be feared. I believe it should be embraced. Innovative technology infused with classical styling is what makes this sports car not your grandfather's. Like the new set? I thought it'd look a lot nicer than the white abyss that I've been spending most of my time in. For this episode, I want to take our Corvette history all the way back. I'm going to hit that 10-minute mark even if it kills me. So, the C1 Corvette, the one that started it all. This basically has no connection to the Corvette that we know and love today, other than the name. This only had a 6-cylinder, which is a far cry from what we know today with the V8. That was until some General Motor executives thought, V8 engine, and then they slapped that sucker in. The C2 Corvette had a complete redesign. It looks nowhere near similar to the original Corvette. If you stared at it long enough, you might notice that it looks a little fishy. That's because it's based on a shark. Hence the name Corvette Stingray. Something to distract here. The C3 Corvette is like a cool 80s rendition of the C2 Corvette, despite being mostly sold in the 70s. I got to sit in one of these. It was really nice. These were cool up until they got hit with emission standard, making them slow as molasses. And if you pair that to a 3-speed automatic transmission, it is slow as balls. So the joke on my dad's side of the family is that if my grandfather didn't get married, he would have got himself a Corvette. Based on all the information I know, that would have been either a C3 or a C2 Corvette. But knowing him, he would have got himself a C3 before it became slow as molasses. Now, the C4 Corvette. The C5 Corvette. Now we're getting somewhere. The C5 Corvette resides a lot more of our modern day Corvette, with its long hood, short rear end, and big taillights. And also, this was the generation that had the pop-up up and down headlights that were cool back in the 90s and early 2000s, until they were told that they're too dangerous for pedestrians. Really? Now, time for the Corvette of my generation, the C6. The C6 was produced from 2005 to 2013, which is basically most of the time I was alive. This was also made along the 5th gen Chevrolet Malibu and other vehicles like the Pontiac Solstice, so lots of part sharing. So everything on the interior looks the same between all the vehicles. They all look basically the same. And now this, our C7 Corvette. This, in my opinion, is the most Corvette-y Corvette that Corvettes. Corvette. This is the pinnacle of front-engine mounted designs. It's stylish, it's fast, it can keep up with supercars, and it's half or like even a quarter of the price. It is a engineering marvel. Now, if any of you have looked at the news recently, you might have noticed that the Corvette has gone mid-engine. There have been many previous attempts by General Motors to make a mid-engine Corvette. I have a model of one of these, but it's weird because it kind of looks like the Catfish Camaro, but the engine is mounted transversely instead of longitudinally in the back. Honestly, I believe it was in General Motors' best interest to keep the Corvette front engine mounted up until now. With all the innovations in technology, all the things that they've possibly learned, and all the things that they've gotten away with, like being bailed out by the government, having it now was the best time possible. Congratulations, you have now passed my crash course, making you an expert on the history of the Corvette. Now we can talk about the oversized golf cart behind me, preferably before we reach the month of August. This specific model uses the 6.2 liter LT1 V8, which is surprisingly smaller than the 5-liter V8 out of the Mustang. But how could that be? The alligator eats the larger number. Well, engine displacement isn't the engine size, it is merely the capacity of the engine. The Coyote V8 uses dual overhead cams, which as you can see are quite big. The Corvette uses push rods, which are much smaller, and you'll probably find them on your lawnmower. Hence, the Corvette engine, despite being a 6.2-liter V8, is smaller than the Coyote 5-liter V8. This engine, in its naturally aspirated form, makes 455 brake horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque. It can launch you from 0 to 60 in a mind-boggling 3.7 seconds, or 3.8, or 3.9. You know what? Forget it. We'll just test this out for ourselves. Since we're out here testing the 0 to 60 time for the Corvette, might as well pull in the Mustang from the last video to see how they compete against each other. But I am going to need a secondary driver for that. No, just a person that we can grab. Some say he only wears female avatars in VR chat and that he actually lives in his parents' basement. And others say he is a dashing man with flowing hair. All we know is that his name is Future. Hello? Look, hiring another person was a little too much out of my price range of $0 and 0 cents. So I chose the most frugal option, cloning myself. They're still a little bit of a work in progress, but I paid them in hot Cheetos and choco milk. They will be driving the Mustang. I have noticed that the Mustang and the Corvette have very similar power figures. The Corvette makes about 20 more ponies than the Wild Horse, but the Corvette is also much lighter than the Mustang, a whole 500 pounds lighter. This race seems pretty clear-cut on paper, but I would be more interested in how that plays out on the drag strip. So I have the result here from our little American standoff. The Corvette did a 0 to 60 time of 3.7 seconds. I guess that means those Google results were right. Yeah, but I'm not keen on trusting the first result that comes out of Google's dumb AI's mouth. But do keep in mind that we were running on semi-slicks in basically perfect conditions for this race. On the street, that 0 to 60 time is probably going to delta in the more 4-second range. However, the Corvette did gap the Mustang by a significant amount, a whole 3 seconds on the 1 kilometer run. Do I get any more voice lines this episode? No. The IRS said that I couldn't count your hot Cheetos as a business expense. And on that terrible disappointment, back to the hangar. Man, I really wish my steering wheel didn't decide to kick the bucket right before I made this video. Driving with an Xbox controller is nowhere near similar to driving with a wheel. Anyways, whenever someone makes mention of the Corvette to me, the first thing that pops in my head is this right here. Except it's lime green. I had a crappy RC version of the C7. Even though the C7 came out a while ago, I don't think its design has aged a day since General Motors released it in 2014, which was 11 years ago. The Corvette also came in many eye-catching colors, such as this one, Torch Red. There's also Cyberpunk Gray, Velocity Yellow, and Pace Car. What a weird name.
Thanks, Forza.
Thanks, Forza. Even with the modernized body of the Corvette, I would argue that is one of the most true to the Stingray name. It just has all the points and curves that echo of the C3 Corvette, such as how the back end comes to a point, with the taillights mocking your pursuer. The front end cuts through the air like a trained knife, and it holds that glass bottle shape, long at the front, short at the back. Ugh. Jesus, low to the ground. The interior of this golf cart, in my opinion, is the best out of all the Corvettes. Even the C8. Being the halo car of General Motors, this has a truly solid interior that has found its way into every other General Motors product. This is all driver oriented, which is fantastic for me, not so much for my passenger. Sorry, you're just along for the ride. But the passenger does get a Jesus handle in case your driver decides to go, watch this. Oh, Jesus. I do not enjoy automakers slapping big iPads in every single space they see in a vehicle. This is what I love about 2014 technology, like the C7 Corvette. It does an excellent job of mixing the modern technology with analog style, unlike its older brother. The C8 Corvette is flooded with screens as if analog gauges were some kind of plague. Like, come on guys, I already stare at a screen for 8+ hours a day. Are analog gauges really that bad? Ooh, and one more thing, the heads-up display. I don't know what it is about them, but I think they're the coolest thing in the world. This is how it should be. I shouldn't have to take my eyes off the road in order to know how fast I'm going. Now that I've yapped about the Corvette for a... whoa. That's a pretty long time. How about I actually tell you how it actually drives? Oh yeah, my steering wheel broke. Oh well. I can still tell you how the Corvette drove when my steering wheel was working for all those drive-by shots in the opening. With the setup that I had, I felt the gearing was quite long. If I were to race this, I'd probably shorten up the gears a little bit. I was driving on the Red Bull Ring, and I don't believe I ever hit 6th gear. But I have to tell you, it's fast. This will ramp you quickly past any highway speed and keep you there until the next corner. But even at the high speeds, as long as you have a general idea of what the next corner looks like, you can navigate it without breaking a sweat in the Corvette. And with a little bit of help from the electronic stability control and the traction control, I believe that anyone can make this thunder around any track. If my steering wheel still worked, I'll try to prove that fact with my father. I really need to buy a new wheel. And even without all the fancy aids, it's still a really easy drive. It's also really fun to slide, if you can hold them, which I can't. I am a little bit worried about the future of us automotive enthusiasts. We are a dying breed. There's so much technology piled up in vehicles, they don't even let you drive the damn thing anymore. And everything's an SUV as well. I think they almost made the Corvette into an SUV. And then some General Motors executive was like, what the why would you do such a thing? We have plenty of other SUVs. Our exact thinking when Ford decided to release the Mustang Mach-E. If cafe standards didn't hamper vehicles so much, I think General Motors should pull a Buick Grand National and drop the Corvette engine into a normalized car. Oh yeah, we did have that. And then GM killed it. Oh well, I still want an American sports sedan that is a big old V8 that isn't a Fiat Chrysler product. I know, it's Stellantis now, but that doesn't change the fact that your Jeeps and Dodges are still made by the Italians. The C7 Corvette represents a time where technology blended perfectly with the driving experience. The implications may be a little lackluster, but you can get a fairly decked out vehicle that just had ABS and electronic stability control and traction control. You might be able to also get radar cruise control, but that's really the extent. But that may actually just be the point of the Corvette. It's made to push the boundaries of our current technology. Who knows where they'll take the Corvette after this? Maybe they'll make it all electric. Wouldn't that be funny? Imagine if General Motors makes a Tesla Roadster before Tesla does. Wouldn't that be goofy? Hello? Yeah, I can come in. Alrighty, it is unfortunately my time to go. I just got a call from my manager asking if I can work for a couple hours. I hate this stupid job! But it is almost August, and once the 31st rolls around, it's actually August 1st, because my manager asked me if I could stay longer, you f***ing bastard. But it is almost August, and once August 1st rolls around, I'm out of here. But I did do a no call, no show like 2 weeks ago, so I do gotta get going before she makes me move things in the freezer again. So I'll see you guys in distant travels. I wonder, if my grandfather saw me like this, I'm not sure if he'd be amazed or if he'd disown me. But one thing I know for sure, he'd probably give me the same goofy look that my dad does. This video was made in honor of my grandfather. He unfortunately passed away during the pandemic. I didn't actually know him all that well, or at least I don't feel like I did. But the more I learned about him, the more I realized how similar we are. other than our looks. For starters, we got screwed over by the same grocery store. We applied for an upfront position and got completely different things. He got stuck shunting carts, and I got stuck in the frickin' deli department. Both of us really enjoyed people watching. Granted, I do mine in a different medium, being VR chat, for obvious reasons. And both of us really enjoy and have a knack for taking pictures. He traveled a lot with his camera. Like, this is Korea, I think this is Oregon, I don't know. These pictures aren't really labeled. I only have a few regrets in life. I have found that all the mistakes I've made have shaped the person I am today. Character building. I regret not knowing my grandfather. I wish I had talked to him more and I got to know him better. A message from me to you. I don't know what your family situation looks like, but go visit your grandparents. Talk to them. Have them tell you their interesting stories, their life experiences. Because once they're gone forever. Thanks for hearing me out. Oh look, more garbage you can watch. I don't think these videos are all that good. I mean, they're good, at least when I made them, but they're a little mid. But without these two, I would not have made the Corvette video. See you later. See you in the distant travels, my friend.